Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the weekly Daily podcast. Apologies for the skipped week last week. I was not able to get an episode out. I apologize. I will tell you, I tried. I planned on it. I even recorded. And I had my first issue with a file. It was lost. And what a bummer. But what can you do? You know, you can only do so much. Actually, I am a little bummed and worried about it. And if you are an audio expert and have any input for me, I would love to hear it. Because I have a Zoom H4n that I record this on. And I was recording. And 30 minutes into the recording, I noticed it said on the screen that card full, like memory full. But the memory was not full. It was just an error. Like, it's not, there's plenty of space on the card, and it shut itself off. And when I turned it back on, it allowed me to record again. So there was space. It just had an error, but it lost the file. And that's a bummer because now I'm like, is it going to do that again? So I don't know if you're watching the video, you can probably see I've got this little thing on me, which is the backup. So if this does fail again, then I'm just going to be putting out this, hopefully not too much lower quality. This is it's an Anchorwork wireless thing I paid a decent amount of money for, more so to use, not for podcasting, but for just recording my sets on stage. But yeah, we will see. Fingers crossed that this works, because if it doesn't, I'm going to be a little bummed and upset about having an expensive piece of equipment that's not working. But again, if you're familiar, I will say I was trying to record outside. It was a little hot. I don't know if the heat triggered it, maybe. But if you know why it would do that, let me know. I gave it a stern talking to. I said, Zoom, H4n. I said, if you air out on me again, you're going to time out. That's my Uncle Vi. So I missed last week because, here, I'll explain it real quick, then I'll get into what I've been up to. It's been a very busy last couple weeks. It's been very fun, very hectic. But this last week, I was on family vacation down in Colorado Springs, coincidentally, so not too far from Denver, an hour away. But most of my family is from Virginia. All flew out and got to hang out there for the week. So I brought all my recording equipment, and I tried to record, which, I mean, it was 13 people in a house, a lot of kids. It was a lot of chaos. So it was tough to kind of find a spot, but I tried to record outside. Ultimately, like I said, the recording did not work, or it got lost somehow. And I was like, I'm not going to even try again. That I kind of had my little window of opportunity, and I said, you know what? It's not meant to be. So apologies for the missed week, but that's where I was. I was on vacation. Good hanging out with the family. Did a bunch of activities. A lot of them centered around the kids. This was the first time in multiple years, 3 or 4 years, that everybody's together, and there's a couple newer members to the family since that, so it's growing. I'm the solo individual. I'm the only not married sibling, and one of my siblings, my brother, he doesn't have any kids, but sisters are they got 5 between the two of them. So a lot of activities we did were kind of centered around them. So it was a lot of fun to see everybody and go around, but it was pretty hectic, pretty crazy. 13 people in a house. You know, it was good. It was a good week, but it's good to be back to Denver. Take a couple deep breaths, decompress. No, but we did quite a few things on during our week there in Colorado Springs. We What did we do? We went to Manitou Springs, which is like right outside of Colorado Springs as you're kind of going up into the mountains. We just kind of went through the city there. We did Garden of the Gods, which is a pretty popular destination, I think, especially for tourists. Something funny enough, I've lived here for 5 years. It's a big thing. I hadn't done it until this past week. But it's a bunch of like rocks that are kind of sticking up and a cool formation. Pretty cool. It's nothing too great. You kind of just walk through and look at it. There's not much you can do as far as climbing. I guess you can get a permit to rock climb. I'm not a rock climber. I don't have interest in dying, so I don't do that. Some people like it though. Actually, a lot of rock climbing gyms. It's a weird thing. People are like, yeah, rock climbing gyms. I don't know. It's a weird form of exercise where you're specifically like, I'm trying to bulk up my fingers. And I'm just not attracted to muscle fingers. So, teach their own though. A lot of people enjoy doing that. And not for me though. But we did that. We did Manitou Springs, Garden of the Gods. What else did we do? We went to the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, which is a zoo kind of up in the foothills, so kind of going up the mountain a little bit, which, that's a very fun thing for the kids to go see. There was a bunch of, the giraffes were there. You could feed them lettuce. There was a grizzly bear. There was lions and a moose. You guys get it. There were animals there. That's what typically happens at zoos. And the most exciting part of the day, I mean, this, it wasn't exciting in a good way, but the most action, I guess, what's a good word for it? I don't know why I just did like a juke, like I'm on like NCAA football. But the penguin exhibit, they were cleaning it out. So the penguins weren't in the water. They had them all like outside of the water, kind of just on the land. And for some reason, they had them up literally against the walkway. And they just had like this netting that was like a foot tall. And to separate the people from the penguins. So a bunch of kids and people are just like looking over at the penguins. And my nephew, who's 3, he looked over and is totally, you could touch them. You're not probably supposed to, but I don't know. It's just very loose rules. There was like an 18-year-old there on her phone, not really paying attention. She worked for the zoo. And you would think she or a sign or a bigger fence would be there to prevent this, but my nephew walked over to get a better look, and a penguin bit his nose. Like, I saw it happen, and I was like, my nephew doesn't have a nose anymore. This is day 1 of vacation, and the vacation is over. Fortunately, it was just a little bit of blood. I mean, it bit him well. He was, he cried. He was not a fan of it. And then, no joke, as my sister is taking him to the employee to be like, hey, where can we go for like first aid? Which this employee was no help with. She was like, first aid? What? My sister was like, we just need like a Band-Aid. And the employee was like, literally just had no idea how to deal with conversation. She's like, well, there's no Band-Aids available. Like, I have to call a medic. And my sister was like, well, I think he's like, okay. I just need a Band-Aid. And she's like, no Band-Aids. Have to get a medic. And it's like, what? You don't have Band-Aids in the zoo? Like, this is a zoo. Like, kids come to the zoo. Kids are falling. Kids are apparently getting bitten by the animals. How do you not have a Band-Aid? Anyways, as my sister is talking to her, this employee, like 30, maybe less than 30 seconds after my nephew was bitten on the nose, another child goes up and the penguin bites it as well. I think it might have poked it in the eye too. Like, I saw it and I was like, let's get out of here. I don't want to. I don't want to see any more children lose eyesight or noses or have an ear bitten off, a Mike Tyson penguin situation. It was a little disconcerting. But that was kind of the most like heart rate elevation, I guess you could say. Other than that, I think the kids really enjoyed the zoo, as kids usually do. And then the only activity that I did without the kids, I went with my brother and sister-in-law, we hiked Pikes Peak, which is a 14er here in Colorado. And for those of you outside of Colorado, 14er is a mountain that's 14,000 feet elevation. I found myself a couple weeks ago talking to somebody in conversation and saying 14er, and they were from the East Coast, and like realizing after the fact, like, I'm talking very Colorado. Like, I don't think people know what 14er is. So it probably came off pretentious. Like, I was on a 14er, and they're like, I don't know what that means, and I don't like that you said that. But Pikes Peak is one of the more popular ones, given that it's very close to Colorado Springs. But did that one. That was difficult. It was fun. It was a good experience. We got up at like 4:30, drove an hour to get to the trailhead. We did a different one from Craig's Campground. So it kind of comes from the backside rather than the main path that goes from like Manitou Springs. But it was 14 miles, 4,400 elevation gain. It took us 8.5 hours. I mean, I felt the elevation. My head hurt. It was a lot of elevation gain and a lot of just, you're hiking for 30 seconds, then you're breathing for 30 seconds, catching your breath for 30 seconds. It was a lot. We got up to the top where this is the only 14er that I can think of that has like a visitor center. People can drive up there. A lot of people go up there just to take a look at it, which is funny because most people are doing that. So you're up there with a big backpack. Like, I was up there with a big backpack. We're just like, kind of feel like high from the elevation and just hiking all morning. And people are up there in like shorts taking pictures. Like, who are these people with backpacks? So kind of a odd experience, but a lot of wind, pretty cold, tough, but it's good to get back on the difficult hike train. I'd been doing that for a while, a couple years ago, and haven't done as much. Haven't done hardly any at all, mostly because things have just gotten busier with comedy, which is good, but also nice to get a solid hike in there. I'll have to do some more. Have another comedian buddy who went on a hike with a couple weeks ago, and he says he seems like he's down to do some hikes, so I'll have to schedule some more here shortly. But that was this last week, and that was all family vacation. Didn't do any comedy at all. Was gonna maybe go to a mic or two down in Colorado Springs, but with the kids and everything, it was just kind of tough to get out. And I figured, you know what, I'll just soak it in, some family time, and we'll get back to comedy tonight. I'll talk about that here in a minute. But yeah, good to see the family. Shout out to Peter, brother-in-law. He wanted me to mention his name. He's a very big, he's a avid board game player. We didn't get to play as many as I'm kind of hit or miss. If I'm in the mood, I like it. Sometimes it's like a lot to commit to a couple hour game, which some of them take. But I wish we would have played at least one or two, which I think they did. I played a little bit before I had to go do something. But Peter, next time, let's get a good board game out. I'll play. I'll commit to that. I can't remember the name of the board. It wasn't a board game. I guess it was a card game. But I can't remember it. That's okay, though. So, yeah, a lot of exciting stuff comedy-wise that I've been doing over the last couple weeks to catch you guys up on what I was doing before family vacation, I actually flew down to Tulsa, Oklahoma, like end of July for the Blue Whale Comedy Festival. Super fun time. It was the best festival I've been a part of. I mean, great shows. The organization was incredible. The production, I mean, just everything. The crowds were great. The comics that I met, super cool, super funny. It's my second time in Tulsa. I actually went last year, almost a year ago exactly, in August of 2022, and had a great time then as well. I mean, I was only there for one day, but my initial impression of Tulsa was like, this is a pretty cool city, and I like it. And I'll tell you what, that hasn't changed. I like it a lot. The people are very nice. The comedy is very fun there. I will say it was very hot. It was 100 plus degrees with pretty high humidity. I'm fine. I usually walk as much as I can, especially if I'm like traveling and it's like, do you want to walk a mile or do you want to Uber a mile? It's like I'll walk every time. But this time I walked some. I was a mile away with my Airbnb, but boy, was it hot. It wasn't that sketchy, but I was like a mile away and had to walk through some sketchy parts, which, I mean, compared to Denver or some bigger cities, it wasn't that big of a deal. But at night in a city, that I'm not super familiar with, I was taking Ubers back at night. It was only like $8, so it wasn't much. But the shows were great. I did just one show Thursday night at a venue called The Lowdown. It's a downstairs basement, like jazz club, typically, where they'll do, I think, comedy like once a month. But it was part of the venue, one of the venues for the comedy festival. Super fun room, super fun show. Rita Brent headlined. I wasn't familiar with her. I think she's out of Atlanta, but she was very funny. All the other comics on the show were very funny. It was a sold out room, about 100 people. Again, downstairs, like jazz club, very cool vibe. Blue curtain behind. All the way in the back is like a bar where they're making cocktails, but it wasn't like a situation where you're like, oh, the bar is right by and it's really loud. Like, it was a perfect setup. It was awesome. So that's what I did on Thursday. And then I just hung out Friday and Saturday. Went to all the shows for the most part. They have this other venue called Kane's Ballroom, and then a little side room off of that's like kind of a barbecue restaurant, but would hold 100 people roughly, and they have a stage there. So I got to watch Jordan Jensen, Fahim Anwar headline there. Another person, Casey, I'm blanking on her last name, but she's a writer for SNL. All great shows. And then kind of the biggest main show was in Kane's Ballroom, which again is connected to that side room that I just mentioned, and held like 500 people. Sold out like both nights. Sarah Sherman was the headliner the first night. Never seen her before. If you haven't seen her before, she's on SNL, but she is wild, dude. Wild. It's very funny, very different, very unique, but it's like a 6-year-old who you gave like way too many Mountain Dews, and you're just like, what is happening? This person is losing their mind, but very funny. And then Joe Pera headlined Saturday night in Kane's Ballroom as well. 500 people. I mean, just great shows. Great shows. A lot of fun. Like I said, I stayed in an Airbnb that was about a mile from downtown, from the venues. It was a nice Airbnb. It was kind of, like I said, it was, from what I heard and from what I saw, kind of a sketchy walk from downtown to there. But it was like a remodeled Airbnb, and there were only 2 dead crickets in there, which sounds kind of weird. But if you're familiar with Oklahoma, which I wasn't until last year, a lot of crickets there. The theater that we did in Oklahoma City last August, 2022, no joke, there was like 1,000 dead crickets in the corner of the theater. And when we saw it, we were like, "What is like?" We thought it was roaches at first. It's like, we got to get out of here. But apparently, it's just a big problem. Just crickets. Geese fly south during the winter. Crickets hop to the corner of a theater and die in August in Oklahoma City. I don't think that's exactly how it works, but that's how it feels like it works. And we'll just go with that. But that was a very fun trip. I flew back Sunday morning early from Tulsa to Denver. And then I went straight down to Colorado Springs. Or no, I didn't. Sunday was actually a very busy day. I went down Monday morning for family vacation. Sunday, I got in early. I went to the Rockies game with my brother, sister-in-law, and brother-in-law. That was fun. Got rock pile tickets. If you're not familiar with the Rockies, it's the baseball team here, the Colorado Rockies. They're very bad. They're not a good team. But you know what? We paid $4 to get rock pile tickets, which is like the worst seats, kind of directly in the outfield in the sun. But we just kind of roamed around. There's a bunch of places you can watch from where you just like buy concession stands or bar areas or whatever where there was actually shade. So we did that. And it was a very good time. We did that, and then I went and I did a couple gigs on Sunday. It was busier than I probably should have scheduled, but had a friend who's in town, comic friend. He lives in Louisville, but he was back in town briefly here in Denver. He's originally from this area. He had come back. He had a gig at a church, asked me to open for him. So I did 15 minutes up top at a church. First church gig. It was fun. I mean, it was different in the sense that like I felt a little bit out of my element, a little, maybe stiff and kind of not super uncomfortable, but a little uncomfortable. Just because it's like a very new. We do this all the time, so it's not like a concept where you're like, what's happening? But it's a different venue, and I'd never done something like that before. But it was good. I think it's good whether it's a church, whether it's a bar, a brewery, a theater, a big stage, a little stage, no stage, people paying attention, people not paying attention. All shows I think are good to go through and get familiar and comfortable in all situations. Because we're constantly doing shows in just so many different venues and places that you can go to a place and be like, I feel like this is a new thing. It feels like you feel a little different. But if you want to get good, if you want to get better, you gotta learn from all the venues and situations and feel all the feelings to be able to, do better next time, learn next time. I didn't do terrible, but I felt a little, for a church audience, you're like, part of in my head, it's like, not that my material is dirty really anyways, but I was extra, I was overthinking and extra conscious of like, make sure not to riff something or say something that could potentially, make people who are kind of within a demographic of they're not looking for anything vulgar or dirty. Again, I'm not doing much of that, but I was just very much in my head about don't say anything inappropriate. Which is funny because I've done a ton of clean shows. But church clean is a little different than just normal clean, I think. It was like an extra emphasis on clean. I have a couple jokes that I wouldn't even think they're fine. They're clean jokes, but as I was going through, I was like, I don't know if that would go well at a church. I don't know if that might rub people the wrong way. But good experience. It was good to see my buddy there. Only got to see him briefly. I'll have to catch up with him again next time I'm going through the East Coast, going through Louisville. I'm definitely want to go to Louisville. I've heard good things, and it's also a very centralized area where you can hit some other scenes very easily. So definitely on my list of places to go. But I did that early. That was like a 6 o'clock show. And then I went to Boulder and did a show at the Velvet Elk Lounge, I think. Very cool venue. Honestly, it was in, I guess it's like a bar or a cocktail bar, kind of a upscale fancy spot. And then in the back, they have this separate room with a stage. I mean, just perfect setup for comedy. For, I'm sure for music, or I'm sure they're using it for other stuff. But probably a room with about 50 people. That could hold up to about 50. There was 15-ish people. It was a lighter crowd, but very fun crowd. Anytime, again, just back to like trying to get good with all venues. Same thing with crowds. I've said it before, but it's very easy to see a crowd that's maybe not super into the show, or maybe it's just a light crowd, and to go, well, this is going to stink. Who cares? It's easy to do that. I try not to do that at all. I try to go embrace the situation and learn from, try to do as well as you can, and then take pieces of information that you've learned and apply it to next time. And when it's a small crowd like that, what I've learned is it's very important to connect with them, like to actually connect. If it's a small crowd and you just go up there and do jokes like a robot, that does not work. If it's a packed out room and they're ready to laugh and they're hot, go for it. Do the jokes, machine gun, boom, 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 punchline, just mow them down. But if it's a small crowd, you have to go out there and connect with people. And it feels good to kind of have learned that, and to go apply it and to actually have it happen. Because sometimes, you need to do that and you don't connect. You kind of fumble up there or whatever the case, But I went up there. I closed the show out, did like 20, 25 minutes. I probably only did, I think I did 25 minutes, probably only did 12 to 15 minutes of material. I was kind of going back and forth with the crowd a lot. And it felt good. I felt in the moment. I was interacting with the crowd. There was, times when I would riff on something and it wouldn't get much of a laugh, but I was very comfortable in weaving in and out and not showing any vulnerabilities of like, oh, that didn't work. I felt very in the moment and very in control on stage, which is awesome, because obviously that's what you want in general. But as you start doing longer sets, whether it's featuring or headlining, you need to show that you're in command, and that felt good. So I was excited for that. It was a very, like I said, maybe 15 people, but the crowd was great. I have this new joke that I tried out, where I guess poke fun at Kansas. It's not malicious, but also it's just poke fun at Kansas. And there's a guy from Kansas, and he was kind of like, he didn't like that, and I was kind of like, oh, all right. I made a large percentage of the crowd upset at me, but it was fine. It was one of those where, like, if you're not feeling in the moment and you're feeling poor or whatever, and you do something to upset somebody, it can be easy to kind of like, oh, get rattled and maybe show weakness. But it was fine. I was like, oh, so, all right. I dug myself a little hole here, but let me get out of it, and I did, and it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun there. Looking forward to doing more longer sets, whether it's in Denver or outside of Denver. It's always nice to feel like you have the ability to be loose and go in and out of jokes and just be present. Because a lot of sets we do are 7, 10, 12 minutes here in the city, and it can be harder to be like, well, let me just kind of like go with the flow when it's a shorter time frame. But that was a lot of fun, and I'm looking at my recorder here. I'm a little anxious. It just passed 30 minutes, which before that's when it tapped out. So fingers crossed that we're not going to get the audio from the anchor work. We will see though. Yeah, but that was last week. I've got a very busy month coming up in August, which I'm very grateful for, very excited to do a bunch of the shows in town and out of town, out of state. I've got a show tonight, August 5th, Saturday. I'm producing it and hosting it, and it's the first one I've done at this new venue. It's at a community center, and I tell you what, at the moment, at this very moment, 8 hours before, 10 hours before the show, I'm about negative $500. So not great, but it's okay. I think some tickets will come through today to help alleviate some of that money that I will lose. But I put a lot of money into this, more so to see. I'm okay. I'm very frugal. I save a lot up. I don't want to lose a bunch of money every show. But this was kind of a test to see, can I put a bunch of money into social media ads and just certain things that I'm doing with the show. I'm offering free beer. See if that like translates as a good marketing ploy to get people to buy tickets. I think I put like $250 into social media ads, which is way more than I've done in the past. But just want to see. This venue can hold up to 100 plus people. So if it can translate into ticket sales, and I sell, 100 tickets at $10 a piece, if you subtract the $250 and then paying comics, and then I've got a DJ, another comic who DJs is coming out. It's a lot of moving pieces, but I want to try to figure out how can, trial and error. What's successful, what's not successful, apply that moving forward, and try to figure out how can I make a local Denver show awesome. And if I can do that, I'd love to do a monthly here or wherever. If I can find a space where I can get people in, have a fun environment. I think the DJ will be a fun thing. Free booze. People come out. It makes it more of a loose atmosphere, and people enjoy it. It provides a little, not a discount, but kind of a discount in people's minds. They're like, oh, it's $10 for a ticket, but there's free beer. So I'm looking forward to figuring out how tonight goes. I'm excited for it, but it's been a minute since I produced the monthly show at Odell Brewing, which is fun. That's a good show, but it's kind of bare bones as far as what's needed. Just bringing the sound equipment and kind of that's it. In the past, when I first started producing, I did a show at this brewery called Mother Tucker Brewery in Thornton, and it was a great show, and I put a lot of effort into it. I brought a stage. I brought like my camcorder. I put a lot of effort and time and energy into trying to make that good, and it was good. And I want to try to find another venue in town in Denver that I can kind of make, my baby and really grow, get people coming in, and then have it be a very fun experience so people word of mouth tell their friends, want to come next month. And then as always, you want to do that. You want to provide a good show for the people who buy tickets. I want to make a good show for the comics who are like, wow, thank you for having me on the show. This was super fun. I want to be able to make money from the tickets to then be able to pay comics fairly and pay them well. So we will see. I think before I started recording the podcast, we were at 24 tickets. Yesterday we were at 18. The day before that, 14. The day before that, 11. Day before that, I don't know why I'm breaking down simple math right now, but it's been little by little, and that's the fear, is a lot of tickets come through last minute in cities. And so it's like, are a lot going to come through today, or is nothing going to come through today? There's already been 6 today, so I feel a little more relieved. If we can get to at least 30, and I think we will, I'll still lose a ton of money, but 30 will at least be a decent crowd and should be a fun show still. You know, if there's a DJ and free beer and all this, and like 8 people show up in this room and they're like, this is it? Like, you've got this whole lot of things going on just for a couple of people, that would be sad. But that's not going to be the case. So we'll see what it turns out. Stick around for next episode. I'll explain it, let you know how it goes. But that's what I got going on tonight. Then I've got a couple shows next week. I think I'm doing a Don't Tell on Thursday. I'm doing a storytelling show on Friday in Loveland. Saturday, I think I'm doing a show at a prison. I was booked to do a show at a prison. I haven't heard any more details, but a day show at a prison, that'll be interesting. Again, doing a show at a church, at a prison, all these places where they're not your usual venues to do comedy. So it's always interesting to test yourself and be like, how can I do my best to be funny in like a different environment? And the more you do like that, the more you put tools on your tool belt to be able to just perform more consistently and better in any scenario. So that'll be interesting. And I say I'm excited for everything, I know, but I think that'll be fun. I'm excited for that. And then Sunday, I've got another show I'm producing at Blackbird Public House, which I've got to go print out posters and take those to the venue here, like after this, which it's going to be a busy day. Just got off vacation. It was a lot of chaos with just a lot of people in the house, and now there's no rest. But that's okay. You got to just keep grinding. That's what people say. Just keep grinding. Grinding. Great. You guys grind your teeth? I think I grind my teeth. I find myself grinding my teeth like while I'm awake. I'll just kind of like be rubbing them together. Be like, what are you doing? Don't do that. But I'm pretty sure I used to grind them very badly. Like 10 years ago, I got TMJ, which I can't remember what that stands for, but it's a jaw thing where I think if you grind your teeth a lot, it's a common symptom of that, where you like your jaw locks up and it hurts really bad and it's really hard to open your mouth like at all, especially right after waking up. I think because you all night are doing that. And I think it's like 90% of people with TMJ are women. So I got it. I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm a woman. Maybe I'm pregnant. I don't know. We'll find out in 9 months. But I haven't dealt with it for like 10 years. Anyways, I'm going off the rails here. I'm getting off topic. But that's what I've got coming up this next week. And then I've got a handful of shows after I've got a handful more. I can't remember the exact dates, but then toward the end of the month, I think the 24th, 25th, 26th of August, I'll be going on a Midwest run with a couple other comic buddies, going to Lincoln, Nebraska, Des Moines, Iowa, and Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Doing some clubs. So very excited for that as well. Another good opportunity to do some longer sets with, I feel like every time I do these trips and do these 20 to 30-ish minute sets, my jokes and sets are getting tighter and tighter and tighter. The longer I'm doing comedy, the more I'm getting out the C and D jokes and replacing and trying to get a full set, full 20 to 30 minutes of all A and B jokes, just boom, boom, boom. How can I get as good as possible? It's good to get the reps in too, because then, you can start thinking a little bit more about order, and just the more frequently you do it, the more it's in your mind, the more you can maybe make edits or see places where you might need to make edits because you're doing it more. So that'll be fun. And then what else? The beginning of next month, in a month from now, pretty much exactly, I've got a festival that I'm doing in Bozeman, Montana, the Last Best Comedy Festival. Looking forward to that. Should be a good time. The end of September, I've got another festival in, I think it's Dunlop, Iowa, right across the border in Nebraska. The week after that, first week of October, I'm doing a festival I'm doing another festival. I think they'll probably make the announcement before that, but I'll hold off of saying anything because they said not to mention anything. So I don't want the 4 people listening to this to, I don't know. But it's looking up. And I've said this before, but just keeping at it, continuing to work on your craft. There's gonna be lows and highs. There's gonna be times where you feel, oh, I don't have a lot of stuff going on. Why are people not asking me to do their show? Blah blah blah. We all have those thoughts, but the more I always try to just remember, as long as I'm working on new jokes, working through new material, working on improving, that's all I can control. And the other stuff, it'll come and go. You'll maybe feel like you got a lot of shows, you don't have a lot of shows, but I feel very grateful over these last few months. I feel like I'm getting some momentum, getting some more opportunities. I feel good about the jokes I've been writing and putting together. I feel like I'm at a point in my comedy career about 5 years in where I'm writing jokes and I'm not taking as much garbage to the stage. Certainly I will write jokes and I'll take it to the stage and they'll be zeros and there'll be nothing. But much more often I'm able to write a joke and kind of rehearse it in my head and understand, hey, this has something, this has potential, or this isn't really something. Whereas before in the past, I'm just writing up just so much stuff and taking it all to stage, and 3% of that is worth saying on stage at all. And it was just the game of numbers. But now I'm still trying to write often, and I just feel like I'm getting to a good place where my brain and my ability to write is much easier, understanding the structure and understanding, like, I think this is actually funny. A higher percentage of jokes that I'm writing and taking to stage have potential. So yeah, I'm excited for that. I mean, a lot of my goals for this year, or one of my goals was to write, I think, a new solid 20 minutes this year and get myself to a full hour of material. And I think I'm getting pretty close to that this year. I mean, I've certainly written and memorized. It's probably about 20 minutes, but obviously written and memorized 20 minutes. How much of that is actually good? I don't know. I would say that I'm probably at about 10 to 15 minutes of okay material. So yeah, just got to keep writing and trying to keep improving, getting better, and looking forward to that. Looking forward to traveling around, seeing new scenes, meeting new people, and continuing to chip away at building this into a career. It's tough. It's tough, reaching out to a bunch of places. And as far as clubs go, I would love to be able to host or to feature. I'm not delusional to think that I should be featuring at these great clubs or whatever, but I feel very prepared and very capable to be able to feature at a B or C club. So now it's just trying to get my foot in the door, get that opportunity to then be able to showcase the set that I've built, to then have that club say, yay or nay. Hey, you're good enough. Let's get you on the regular schedule. Or, maybe they won't think that. And that'll be fine too. You don't want that, but it really is true. You learn the most from the failures. The more stuff that I haven't gotten, these competitions that I haven't gotten through, these festivals that I haven't gotten into, local shows that I haven't been asked to be on, everybody wants to be accepted in one of those. But honestly, and I'm not saying this from any sort of bitterness at all, genuinely, by not getting a lot of those things, it has for sure made me a better comic and made me more motivated to write, to get better at performing. I mean, honestly, like this whole health thing that I've talked about in recent episodes of like eating super healthy, exercising, getting sleep, and getting back into the healthiest mindset I can to be able to perform as well as I could. If I was getting everything and there wasn't as much like concern about being as funny as possible to hopefully be able to get these opportunities in the future, then it would be like, well, what's the point in eating super clean? If I'm getting all this stuff, okay, maybe I feel a little anxious on stage, or maybe I'm not as funny as I could be, but I'm getting this stuff, so it doesn't matter. But I think by having to go through, whether you call them failures or whatever, those really, really do motivate me. And the more healthy I am from the diet and from exercise, things like that, it truly allows me to be grateful and to not be bitter. When I'm not feeling well from diet, from lack of exercise, lack of sleep, it's easy to fall into the bitterness and just not feel productive, maybe not be productive, not writing much, things like that. So it can be easy to fall in that loop. But being in a healthier mindset from what I've been doing over the last month or two, it does help keep comedy fun, the creative side of things, and then genuinely just appreciating what you have. There's a festival coming up here pretty soon, a local festival called High Plains. It's a very prestigious festival, I would say, that the people that are chosen locally, it's for sure something that people want, and it's kind of a sign of like a certain level. And, I've talked with people, it's certainly something that I would love to be on, but at the end of the day, if I'm not, it's okay. It's okay. I want to be on it, but if I'm not, it's okay. I'm very, very happy with my progress where I'm at right now, and I really look forward to continuing that progress and getting better, and really embracing and accepting that kind of as a challenge, to never settle, just get as good as possible. So yeah, I really rambled there for a really long time about whatever I said there. But I really do mean it. I feel very good, very grateful, very excited about the future. And I'll keep you guys updated on the shows and things I got going on. And let me know. Again, I've asked this. Nobody's sending questions. If you have any questions, any thoughts, please send them to me via Instagram at Ben Dailey Comedy. I do want to hear. I do want to engage a little bit more if you guys have questions or thoughts or anything like that. So let me know. But with that said, I'm going to end the pod here for today. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys again next week.